You are watching this because you are losing. You set your alarms, you write your goals, and by noon, you have already surrendered to your own pathetic excuses. Society tells you, discipline is a morning routine. They are lying. Real discipline is a calculated act of violence against your inner weakness. It is the power to stare down your fatigue, your anxiety, and your desire for comfort, and bury them completely. Miyamoto Musashi understood this centuries ago. He did not fight to participate, he fought to conquer. He mastered the concept of Fudoshin, the immovable mind. He knew that to walk undefeated in a chaotic world, you cannot be soft. You must become a force of nature. When you forge this kind of immovable discipline, men do not just respect you. They become uneasy around you. They see a man who operates entirely in the shadows, a man who refuses to be manipulated and no longer negotiates with his inner weakness. That terrifies average people. You clicked on this because you are drained. You watch weaker men win while you stay trapped in a cycle of cheap motivation. You want a bulletproof mentality. I am going to reveal the exact framework right now. This is not another soft self-improvement lecture. We are going to dive into the dark psychology of isolation. I will show you how to execute a ruthless 72-hour protocol to completely rebuild your mindset from the ground up. Watch this entire breakdown closely. The secret to ultimate power is not about what you add to your daily schedule. It is about what you are willing to kill so you can grow. Better in silence, Phase 1, the arsenal of silence. You must first kill your desperate need for an audience. We live in an era where weak men announce their victories before they even step onto the battlefield. They broadcast their morning routines. They seek applause for simply waking up. This is the exact reason they remain mediocre. They bleed out their drive through cheap validation. Musashi did not wander the Edo period shouting his strategies to the wind. He trained in total isolation. He understood that true dominance is forged in absolute secrecy. You must become a phantom. You operate better in silence. When you stop telling the world your plans, you stop begging for its permission. Silence becomes your heaviest armor. You create a void that makes ordinary people deeply uncomfortable. They will project their insecurities onto you. They will wonder why you no longer need their shallow attention. Let them wonder. Your duty is to step into the shadows and execute. Imagine vanishing into a 72-hour protocol of absolute focus. No announcements, no digital dopamine, just the cold repetition of your daily craft. You make your mistakes, where no one can judge them. You fix them without hearing the useless doubts of your peers. And when you finally step back into the light, your presence alone will command the room. You will not need to announce your evolution. People will feel the massive weight of your discipline in your posture. They will sense it in the words you choose not to speak. But operating in the shadows brings an entirely new and dangerous threat. Your mind will inevitably try to betray you when no one is watching. How do you force your body to execute when the initial motivation dies and the heavy isolation starts to crush your spirit? We will dissect that psychological weapon in the next phase, Phase 2, the alchemy of emotion. Society feeds you a lie. They claim a highly disciplined man feels absolutely nothing. They say he never experiences exhaustion or the heavy pull of laziness. That is completely false. The disciplined man feels every single ounce of pain. He feels the intense urge to sleep in. He feels the crushing weight of boredom and the sting of rejection. The difference is that he simply does not care. He refuses to let his internal state dictate his execution. Musashi taught that a warrior must perceive his own feelings as mere passing weather. You look outside and see the storm. It is pouring. But you do not cancel your mission because the sky is crying. You step into the cold and you move forward. You cannot rely on passion to fuel your grind. Passion is a weak flame that dies the moment a slight breeze hits it. You must build your foundation on duty. This is the raw definition of emotional alchemy. You take the heavy lead of reluctance and crush it into the gold of massive action. You force the body to obey the command of the mind. Do not attempt to negotiate with your own brain at 4 in the morning. Your brain is hardwired for comfort and survival. It is not designed for conquering empires. Use a brutal 3-second rule. When the alarm hits, you have 3 seconds to stand up. If you hesitate for 4 seconds, your mind will defeat you. 1, 2, 3, and move. Stop thinking. Thinking is the ultimate enemy of execution when you are in a state of weakness. Over time, you rewire your entire nervous system. You stop trying to feel good, and you become a machine that produces results, regardless of the emotional climate. If you are ready to master this storm, comment 1 below. When you finally detach your output from your feelings, you become untouchable. Your consistency makes you a massive threat to everyone competing against you. But mastering your emotions is only half the battle. What happens when the people closest to you realize you are evolving? How do you survive when your own circle tries to drag you back down to their level of mediocrity? We will confront that harsh reality in the next phase. Phase 3. The Weaponization of Solitude. Musashi wrote the Dokudo near the end of his life. It translates to the path of walking alone. He knew that to achieve absolute mastery, a warrior must detach from the herd. Look at the 5 individuals you spend the most time with. Are they pushing you toward greatness, or are they keeping you comfortable? Most average men are terrified of their own company. They drown out the silence with endless podcasts, cheap music, and meaningless scrolling. They cannot sit quietly in a room because their own thoughts ruthlessly remind them of their wasted potential. To forge terrifying discipline, you must weaponize your isolation. You must ruthlessly cut ties with anyone who does not align with your ultimate mission. This sounds cruel, but it is a necessary act of survival. When you begin to elevate your life, the people around you will try to drag you back down. They do not necessarily hate you. Your sudden growth simply exposes their pathetic stagnation. When you start building an iron physique, your lazy peers feel deeply judged. When you start scaling your business, your comfortable friends feel personally attacked. They will tell you that you are obsessed and that you are no longer fun. Fun is a distraction engineered for the mediocre mass. You are not here for fun. You are here for complete domination. You must accept being the villain in their stories. Let them call you cold. Let them call you distant. Isolation is the sacred laboratory of the elite. Lock the door and face the brutal boredom and intense anxiety hiding in the dark. When you destroy those internal demons, you will walk back into the light with an authentic confidence that simply cannot be faked. People will naturally gravitate towards you because you no longer need anything from them. But standing alone makes you a visible target. How do you react when they actively try to break your iron frame? We will uncover that lethal response in the next phase. Phase 4. The Terror of Unpredictability. Musashi taught that a master must never reveal his true form. When you remain formless, you become impossible to defeat. How does this apply to your daily discipline? When you lack discipline, you are incredibly predictable. Your enemies know exactly when you will surrender. They know a little pressure will make you fold. Your weaknesses are entirely exposed, and you are easy to manipulate. But when you forge iron discipline, you become a dangerous glitch in their reality. You stop reacting to external noise. Someone disrespects you, and you feel absolutely nothing. You simply look at them and return to your mission. A massive crisis strikes, and you do not panic. You pause, and you analyze the battlefield. You lose your capital, and you do not shed a single tear. You quietly rebuild. This absolute lack of emotional reaction terrifies manipulative individuals. They rely on your anger and your sadness to control you. When you remove the buttons they use to push, they lose all their power. Your relentless consistency transforms into your most lethal weapon. You become an unstoppable force that cannot be bargained with. You move like a massive glacier, slow and silent, but completely crushing everything in your path. You learn to function better in silence without seeking any sympathy. Stop broadcasting your bad days to the internet. Stop showing the world exactly where you can be wounded. Hide your scars so your enemies never know they drew blood. Fix your posture and walk with absolute purpose. Even if your world burns down, you never let them see you sweat. You are framing a new reality where you hold total control. But establishing this control requires a standard that most men cannot endure. How do you build a mindset so elite that ordinary people think you are insane? We will forge that absolute standard in the very next phase today. Phase 5. The standard of absolute mastery. Why do you constantly fail? You fail because you have normalized mediocrity. You accept a twisted reality where simply trying your best is somehow enough. You must aggressively raise the floor of your existence. Musashi observed that many great samurai clans were not destroyed by superior enemy swords. They were destroyed by their own internal softness. They abandoned the harsh discipline of the way for the comfort of peacetime luxury. You are currently living in the most comfortable and sedated era in human history. Endless digital entertainment and cheap sugar are designed to keep you weak and distracted. Everything around you is engineered to kill your ambition. To remain disciplined in this modern environment is a pure act of rebellion. You must declare total war on comfort. Set daily standards that look absolutely insane to the average mind. People will ask why you wake up at 4 in the morning or why you refuse to consume poison. You do not explain yourself. You simply outwork them. When you operate on this elite level, you automatically expose the laziness of everyone around you. It is much easier for them to label you obsessed than to admit they are weak. Let them pointlessly judge you today. You must always guard your precious time like a supreme resource. Every single lost second you waste arguing with a fool is time stolen from your future legacy. If you understand the value of this extreme, focus comment 2 below. Make yourself entirely inaccessible to time wasters. This creates immense scarcity, and scarcity creates ultimate value. You elevate yourself completely out of the average competition. But reaching this lonely peak requires a violent sacrifice. You cannot take your current personality into this new empire. How do you permanently execute the weak version of yourself? We will finalize that absolute death in the final phase. Phase 6. The execution of the old self. This is the hardest part. This is the stage where you must hold a funeral for your past. To transform into the terrifying force we discussed, you must permanently destroy the person you used to be. You have to kill the version of you that desperately needs to be liked by average people. You must execute the version of you that apologizes for massive ambition. Look directly at your past failures, your trauma, and your embarrassments, and shut the door completely. Musashi understood that internal war cannot be avoided. If you do not conquer your past self, he will absolutely destroy your future. He will whisper in your ear when the 72-hour protocol gets incredibly difficult. He will tell you to take a break or skip just one single day. You must be completely ruthless. You are violently shedding an old skin. It is incredibly painful. It leaves you feeling raw and exposed, but it is the only true way to evolve. You will lose friends. You might lose a relationship. You will be completely misunderstood by your own family. This is the heavy tax you must pay for ultimate greatness. Do not ever complain about this tax. Simply pay it. On the other side of that painful death is a massive rebirth. You become a version of yourself that is leaner and infinitely faster. A new you that operates entirely on logic instead of weak emotion. You start seeing the world as a brutal chessboard instead of a playground. This new version of you is genuinely scary. He scares you a little bit right now. He absolutely should. True power is always intimidating, and you are building immense power today. We are not talking about power over other people. That is just tyranny. We are talking about supreme power over yourself. That is true majesty. When you walk into a room with complete self-control, you vibrate on an entirely different frequency. Ordinary people naturally step aside. They do not understand why, but they know you are not someone to be played with. You develop the cold stare of a man who has looked into the abyss and walked straight through it. You carry the aura of a man who has conquered his own mind. There is absolutely no greater victory in this world. As Musashi documented, the warrior who defeats himself is infinitely greater than the warrior who defeats a massive army. So what happens when you fully commit to this brutal path? When you become this incredibly disciplined, the endless noise finally stops. The chronic anxiety that has ruined your life for years goes completely silent. Anxiety only exists because you know you are unprepared. It exists because you are constantly lying to yourself. When you embrace absolute discipline, you have nothing left to hide. You know exactly who you are and what you are capable of achieving. You stop fearing the future because you are actively building it with your own hands. You stop fearing competitors because you know they can never outwork your standard. You stop fearing failure because failure is just raw data for your next calculated attack. You become entirely free, but you must understand that this is a very cold and lonely freedom. It is the freedom of the lone wolf standing on the dark hill looking down at the sheep in the pen. The sheep are warm and safe. They are fed, but they are trapped in a cage. You are out in the freezing cold. You are starving, but you are completely free. That is the ultimate choice you must make right now. Do you want the pathetic warmth of the herd or the terrifying power of the lonely hunt? Prove you grow better in silence today. Comment. I choose the cold path below and subscribe now. The old you is officially dead.